Welcome to the Kentucky Alternate Assessment Program, Employability Skills Attainment Record Administration Guide, Training for School Year 2025-26. This module will walk you through the Employability Skills Attainment Record Administration Guide. Most slides will reference specific pages. Please print a hard copy or access an electronic version from the Kentucky Department of Education webpage before continuing this training. The Employability Skills Attainment Record, referred to as the ESAR, is one of 4 components of the Kentucky Alternate Assessment Program. The ESAR was developed for students with significant cognitive disabilities in an alternative HS diploma course of study and working toward career readiness. The ESAR is designed to provide a career readiness measure within the post-secondary readiness indicator of Kentucky's accountability system. There are 2 ways for students to demonstrate post-secondary readiness within Kentucky's accountability system. Students must earn a high school diploma or be classified as a grade 12 non-graduate and meet the requirements of one type of readiness, academic readiness or career readiness. In alignment with the regular assessment, the achievement of career readiness is not mandatory. The accountability system allows for meeting the requirements of academic readiness or career readiness. However, school districts must provide students opportunity and access to work toward career readiness. This includes students participating in the alternate assessment. The ESAR is a rating scale that assesses student demonstration of skills linked to the Employability and Foundation's Academic Standards Alternate Assessment, typically referred to as the EFASDA. The standards within the EFASDA align with a subset of the standards assessed by the Career and Technical Education (CTE), End of Program (EOP), Assessment for Articulated Credit, and the CTE Pathway Standards documents. The EFASDA standards are included in Appendix A of the Administration Guide. The ESAR includes 30 items. The ESAR is administered to all 12th grade students working toward achievement of career readiness status within the post-secondary readiness component of Kentucky's accountability system. Working toward means the student has completed the coursework leading to the Career Work Experience Certification, CWEC, or is in the process of completing the courses. The CWEC courses are documented on the student's multi-year course of study and transcript. A student in grade the 11th of may be assessed early if the student has completed the first 2 courses leading to the CWEC and is scheduled to complete the remaining 2 courses before graduation. This slide shows coursework leading to the CWEC and the conditions for early ESAR assessment of students in grade 11. The requirement means the student has already taken Developing Career Options and Developing Leadership Skills, as indicated on the student high school transcript, and before graduation will complete Experience in Workplace Principles and Individualized Career Work Experience. A grade 14 student has continued opportunity for assessment on the ESAR if the benchmark has not been met previously at grades 11 or 12. Note: the ESAR is not administered to students who have a graduation code in Infinite Campus, IC. A student will be included in accountability reporting at grade 12. If the student returns at grade 14 and has not yet had a graduation code applied, they may continue to pursue post-secondary readiness. The student will be included in accountability the year of high school exit with a graduation code. If a student is assessed at multiple grades, the scores are stored by the KDE Office of Career and Technical Education, OCTE, until the student exits with a graduation code. The highest score will be selected for accountability. The highest possible rating on the ESAR is 60. The benchmark is 37. The ESAR is completed by the Qualified ESAR Administrator, or QEA, in collaboration with other members of the student's instructional team. The QEA must be a certified staff member. The QEA may be the teacher of record or another certified district representative. The teacher of record is typically the primary special education teacher of the student, who is most familiar with the student's performance across multiple settings. Other team members include special education teachers, other than the QEA, if a student has more than one special education teacher. General education teachers, dependent on the extent a student participates in the general education program. Other certified staff members who have knowledge of a student's current performance levels in the areas assessed by the ESAR. Others, such as a student's speech/language pathologist, occupational therapist, career technical education teacher, guidance counselor, or school psychologist, often have valuable information about the student's performance in different settings. Classified staff, such as employment specialists and paraprofessionals, can assist in providing information about a student's current performance levels in the skills assessed by the ESAR. But the responsibility of scoring and providing the primary information is that of the certified staff members. The QEA must pass the qualification quiz before ESAR administration begins. Upon successful completion of the quiz, the QEA will be prompted to download the ESAR. Only a QEA will be able to access the ESAR from the Kentucky Alternate Assessment Program, KAAP, Online Training System, OTS. The QEA will print the ESAR and copy for each student eligible for assessment in the current school year. Just as the QEA may begin assessing students upon completion of the qualifying ESAR quiz, consultation with other team members may also begin at that time. To arrive at the final ratings, the full instructional team must meet at least once per year. Experience in the field indicates the best time to complete the ESAR is prior to the transition meeting or the annual Admissions and Release Committee ARC meeting. The administration of the ESAR must be completed by May 22, 2026. Every ESAR item must be rated on a 3-point scale, i.e., 0, 1, 2. There must be a response for every item. When rating an item, any mode of communication or responding that is typically utilized by the student is acceptable. The rating descriptions are on pages 6 and 7 of the administration guide. 0 is the response for skills and concepts the student does not demonstrate in any setting. 1 is the response for skills the student displays only with some level of prompt, such as a verbal cue, partial physical guidance, or modeling. A rating of 1 is also used for skills that are displayed inconsistently. If a student can demonstrate a skill occasionally but not consistently, then the skill should be rated 1 developing/supported. 2 is the response for skills that the student clearly has mastered and performs independently. To be rated as 2 independent/mastered, the student must demonstrate the skill consistently over time. The student does not have to demonstrate the skill every time, but over the course of instruction, the student has shown that he or she has mastered the skill without being prompted. Note that the student may use some type of support. A student who independently asks for a support and/or uses a support independently while demonstrating a skill can be rated as 2. For example, a student uses a visual calendar as a support. If the student asks for the visual calendar and/or independently uses it to complete a task, the student can be rated as 2. If the student is prompted to use the visual calendar, the student would be rated as 1. Some ESAR items are scored based on performance at a worksite. A worksite is defined as a non-school integrated, competitive environment where the students engage in work-based learning options customized and aligned to their post-secondary goals, including entrepreneurship, mentoring, shadowing, internship, or cooperative education. For careers found only in educational settings, the placement should be outside the student's school of attendance. The rationale supporting the worksite definition is provided in Appendix B. The general instructional cycle followed by teachers and related service personnel typically includes the steps outlined on page 8 of the administration guide. Embed the standards within the EFAS into instruction, curriculum, and IEPs as appropriate. Assessing for maintenance of skills previously mastered aligns with good instructional practices. Assessing for maintenance at the beginning of each year is recommended, as well as maintenance checks throughout. Skills not maintained should be integrated in the current year's instruction. The rating of each ESAR item must be based on direct observation of demonstrated student performance and must be documented. The instructional team does not rate ESAR items based on what they think the student may or may not be able to do. Documentation must verify the rating. This documentation is called supporting evidence. In most cases, supporting evidence for the ESAR is derived from existing progress data collected during the instructional process. Teachers and related service personnel typically keep progress data in student working folders. During the administration of the ESAR, the student's instructional team will select existing progress data from the student's working folder to support the 0, 1, or 2 ratings. The documentation is then stored as supporting evidence in the Career Ready Alternate Assessment folder, the CRAAF. Supporting evidence may take various forms, including but not limited to staff journals with results of informal or formal observation, workplace performance evaluations, behavioral checklists, videos of student demonstration of performance, and employment specialist monthly reports, specifically monthly reports for job development/job coaching. Existing documentation for a skill assessed by an ESAR item may be dated within the last 4 years if demonstrating the skill consistently over time. However, when a student masters and performs a skill independently in a previous year, an activity or observation to check for maintenance of the skill must be performed during the school year of ESAR administration. To retain a previous status that a student has mastered and performs independently, the current year performance check must indicate the student continues to demonstrate the skill consistently over time. The ESAR item rating must be based on the current year performance check. The check for maintenance takes precedence over previous data and substantiates the response selected on the ESAR. As needed, team members should supplement supporting evidence with additional assessment activities. For skills not yet observed and documented, team members should create opportunities for observations and assessment. As a reminder, anyone that provides accommodations during state testing must also have inclusion of special populations in the state-required assessment and accountability programs, 703 KAR 5, 070 training, and school personnel assisting with the administration of the ESAR must complete the 703 KAR 5, 080 Administration Code for Kentucky's Educational Assessment Program training, and sign the non-disclosure form for State Assessments form. This slide depicts an example for when progress data indicates a student mastered a skill in a year prior to the administration of the ESAR. In grade 10, the student independently used charts, guides, and written directions to complete tasks and work assignments. The teacher conducted a check for maintenance of the skill in grade 11. If the student hadn't maintained, the skill instruction would be provided. The same process would occur in grade 12. During the administration of the ESAR in grade 12, the most current maintenance check/supporting evidence would determine the final rating on the ESAR item. In this example, the student can independently use charts and guides but hasn't mastered written directions to complete tasks and work assignments. The members of the student instructional team may determine assessment activities are needed to supplement the existing supporting evidence. Consensus must be achieved when the student's instructional team meets to determine the final rating on ESAR items. For many items, the supporting evidence will lead to immediate consensus. For this reason, the team members may wish to focus on discussing and resolving any differences for items about which there is no general agreement. In cases of non-agreement, the team members should examine the supporting evidence for the basis of differing ratings. If team members cannot reach agreement, or if they determine the student demonstrates different performance levels at different times or under different conditions, the lowest of the ratings being considered must be assigned to the item. The ESAR is considered secure testing material and must follow the administration code and regulation established for all state-required assessments and optional tests administered by school personnel that are reported in Kentucky's accountability system. 703 KAR 5. 080 Administration Code for Kentucky's Educational Assessment Program can be reviewed in its entirety on the KDE website. The link to the regulation is provided on page 10. Page 10 of the Administration Guide also contains concepts selected from the Regulation Test Security section that more closely address a rating scale assessment like the ESAR. Be sure to review and follow the all test security requirements. The CRAAF stores the documentation for the ESAR and the Career Work Experience Certification, CWEC. The QEA is responsible for maintaining the CRAAF. After completing the ESAR training and qualification quiz, the QEA will print the ESAR certificate and file in the CRAAF. Provide a copy to the Building Assessment Coordinator, BAC, or District Assessment Coordinator, DAC. File the Student Information page in the CRAAF. Complete and file the signed documentation of completed training of the 703 KAR 5. 080 Administration Code for Kentucky's Educational Assessment Program. 703 KAR 5. 070 Inclusion of Special Populations in the State-Required Assessment and Accountability Programs, and a signed KDE non-disclosure form in the CRAAF. Download the ESAR and copy for each student eligible for ESAR administration. Maintain the ESAR in the CRAAF. File the completed ESAR and documentation in the CRAAF at the end of each school year. The ESAR must be stored in a secure double-locked location when not being used. CRAAF components include, in the following order: student information, administrator trainings and documentation, qualification quiz certifications, employability skills attainment record, and the Career Work Experience certification. The Career Work Experience Certification Administration Guide for school year 2025-26, linked in the manual, provides information about CWEC section. The Student Information page form is stored in the Student Information section. Form components include student name, school, district, grade, state student identification number, SSID, district enrollment date if the student is new to the district, date participation in the alternate assessment was determined if placement occurred during current school year, accommodations listed in the current IEP for the student, and the name and signature of the supervising teacher. A link to the CRAAF Student Information page form is available on the KDE Working with Exceptional Children in CTE webpage and on page 13 of the ESAR Administration Guide. There are two versions, one electronic version, and the other is a form that is downloadable to save. School personnel assisting with the administration of the ESAR must complete the 703 KAR 5. 080 Administration Code for Kentucky's Educational Assessment Program. 703 KAR 5. 070 Inclusion of Special Populations in the State-Required Assessment and Accountability Programs, and a signed KDE non-disclosure form. If a QEA has multiple CRAAF folders, the signed administrator trainings and documentation may be duplicated for placement in each. Any non-school personnel who assist with ESAR administration should sign a non-disclosure agreement form, which is also filed in the CRAAF. A link to the forms are provided on page 13 of the Administration Guide. The Qualifying Quiz Certifications component of CRAAF houses the ESAR certificate, documenting the QEA successfully completed the qualification quiz. The ESAR certificate is printed from the Kentucky Alternate Assessment Program, KAAP, online training system, OTS. A copy is placed in the CRAAF, and one copy is provided to the BAC or DAC. The ESAR component of CRAAF can include up to 5 years. The number is dependent upon when and how many times the ESAR is completed for a student. If the ESAR is completed early at grade 11, the folder section begins that year. If not, the ESAR documentation begins at grade 12. Reminder: the ESAR is required for all students at grade 12, working toward career readiness designation within the accountability system. If the student exits with a graduation code at the completion of grade 12, the ESAR documentation ends at that grade level. If the student does not meet benchmarks in grade 11, if eligible for early administration, or grade 12, and continues receiving services as a grade 14 student, they may continue to be assessed on the ESAR. A section is added for each grade 14 year, until the student either meets benchmarks or exits with a graduation code. The ESAR documentation is kept each year and includes the completed ESAR and supporting evidence, anecdotal notes regarding specific student information on the ESAR, and documentation concerning the meeting to complete the record, i.e., who, where, and when. Career readiness will be reported by KDE's Office of Career and Technical Education, OCTE. Therefore, personnel from the OCTE will audit CRAAFs during monitoring or review visits for career and technical education programs. At the time of the folder audit, the reviewers will confirm that the supporting evidence substantiates the ratings on the ESAR items. At the local level, DACs may choose to monitor the CRAAF to review programming and assessment compliance. This is a district-level decision. The QEA reports the ratings of students' ESAR performance levels to the Kentucky Department of Education via the Career Readiness Database, CRD. The QEA transfers the ratings for the 30 ESAR items to CRD. The CRD is housed on the KAAP online training system, OTS. May 29, 2026 is the last day to enter scores in CRD. Grade 12 and grade 14 students identified to be working towards career readiness in an alternative high school course of study or alternate assessment with completion of at least 2 CWEC courses are entered in the CRD by KAAP personnel. A grade 11 student will not be automatically loaded in the CRD, but may be manually entered for reporting purposes during the current school year if the student is working towards career readiness and has completed at least 2 CWEC courses. The process for registering a grade 11 student or an eligible student that was not previously automatically loaded in the CRD. The DAC, Director of Special Education, DOS, or district-level administrator, registers the student in the database, then contacts Cherie Craig or Darrell Mattingly to request the student record be opened. Once the student record is open, scores may be entered into the CRD. Pages 16 through 17 summarize the steps for completion of the ESAR. The QEA facilitates the process, but student instructional team members also have responsibilities. When school starts, the QEA and instructional team members begin instruction on the EFAS delay, document student progress, and maintain progress data in student working folder. The QEA must complete the ESAR training and the qualification quiz in the OTS by December 22, 2025. The ESAR quiz will close on December 22, 2025. The QEA prints and files the ESAR certificate in the CRAAF. Provide a copy to the BAC or DAC. The QEA files the student information page in the CRAAF. The QEA and school personnel assisting with the administration of the ESAR complete administrator trainings and documentation and sign non-disclosure. The QEA files a copy administrator trainings and documentation and signed non-disclosure in the CRAAF. Non-school personnel who assist with the completion of the ESAR sign a non-disclosure form. The QEA files the form in the CRAAF. The QEA downloads the ESAR from the OTS and makes a copy for each student eligible for ESAR administration. The QEA completes the ESAR demographic information for each student. During the school year, the QEA and instructional team members continue instruction on the EFASAA, document student progress, and maintain progress data in the student working folder. The QEA rates ESAR items based on supporting evidence. Throughout the year, QEA consults with other team members who may provide supporting evidence. The QEA keeps the ESAR and supporting evidence in the CRAAF within a secure location when not in use. During the instructional team meeting, or other meetings if needed, the QEA reviews the ESAR directions with instructional team members. Together, the team reviews all standards and test items for common understanding. Then instructional team members discuss each test item and supporting evidence. They jointly decide how the student's performance on each item should be scored, either as a 0, 1, or 2. The QEA documents the ratings and gathers the supporting evidence for each test item. After the assessment, the QEA reviews the completed ESAR to ensure that all items have been marked. The QEA then stores the finalized ESAR and supporting evidence in the CRAAF within a secure location. By May 29, 2026, the QEA must transfer the ratings of student performance to the CRD housed on the KAAP Online Training System, OTS. This concludes the ESAR training module. You may complete the ESAR qualification quiz on the KAAP website. Review the ESAR administration guide if needed before accessing the quiz. You have 3 opportunities to pass the quiz. If you did not pass the quiz, you missed a total of 10 or more questions, or at least 1 mandatory question was answered incorrectly. Upon the 3rd unsuccessful attempt, you will be locked out of the CRD system and must notify your DAC, DOS, or district-level administrator. If you become locked out of the quiz, please review the training materials again before retesting. The ESAR qualification quiz closes December 22, 2025. Upon successful completion of the quiz, you will be granted access to the ESAR 2025-2026 Kentucky Alternate Assessment Program calendar. The CRD is scheduled to open for CWEC completion status and ESAR evaluation score entry on November 17, 2025. The last day to enter CWEC completion status and ESAR scores in CRD is May 29, 2026. 2025-26 Employability Skills Attainment Record, ESAR, support contacts. For assistance with ESAR-related questions, contact Cherie Craig, IT Business Analyst Senior, KDE, Office of Career and Technical Education, OCTE, 5-0256-44286. For assistance with CWEC and ESAR administration guides and alternate career readiness. For assistance with Career Ready Database, CRD-related questions, contact Darrell Mattingly, Career Ready Database System Administrator, Kentucky Alternate Assessment Program, KAAP. For assistance with the Career Readiness Database, CRD, for CWEC and ESAR data reporting. This concludes the ESAR training module. Best wishes on the quiz and for the 2025-26 school year.